Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of your Vision for Health challenge this year. I'm hoping that all of you have really had a chance to think about day one. What is your vision? Where do you get to go for your health? What does that get to look like? And maybe over the last few days, you've really put yourself in a mindset of how am I really feeling? How am I really showing up for myself? What does this truly look like? Am I have low energy and I should have more energy? Do our is my nutrition not on track like it should be? We talked about nutrition yesterday. And do I realize that I really need to move my body more, but I can't figure out how to fit it in my schedule? Do I have physical pain that I've been ignoring? Is there emotional things happening in my life that I kind of just push away and I'll deal with it later? I want to share with you all of these pieces are you as a human being. And if any of these, like you're struggling or you're suffering or whatever word works for you at this point in your journey in your health, please start to do something about it. And please don't just like push the symptoms away or don't connect to them and don't work with them. And please don't come into this year. It's not about a New Year's resolution, it's about taking each step, each journey of the way. It's about you picking one or two habits or whatever word that you want to use, strategy, goal that will support you in what you need to change. Example again, I need to move my body more, could be your message. Okay, how do I get 30 minutes in the morning? How do I schedule that out with my life, with my family, with my job? Like, what does that look like? And then in the evenings, how could I get 20 to 30 minutes in? Maybe you're actually choosing a goal of, I don't know, 10,000, 12,000 steps. How would you measure that? What would that look like? What do you need to do? So remember, if we set a goal and a commitment to ourselves, if we don't figure out how to do that, we're just throwing a goal against a target. We're really not going to win it. We need to own it and figure out, how do we figure this out? What is this going to look like? Because I don't know about you, many times I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to lose 5 pounds, right? But I never change anything I do. And then I'm like, darn it, I didn't lose 5 pounds. Well, you've got to do something different, because one of my favorite sayings, if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, you're always going to get the same result. All of you that are on here are taking the time to show up for yourself. You're never going to get this moment in time back. You want a different result in your health, because somehow I drew you in with what we talked about, whether it was in the email or you heard me on a live or you saw what my team posted, and you're like, I really get to declare that my health gets to be different this year, right? So that's what we talked about Monday, setting your vision, setting your tone, setting your setting your goal. Then we talked about, how do we win at that? What does that personalized strategy look like? How am I going to set myself up to reach that dream, that goal, whatever you want to, however you want to message it for yourself that fits, right? Then yesterday we talked all about nutrition, one of my favorite things to talk about because it is the foundation of your health. If your nutrition is off and your body's not digesting the food and you're not having a bowel movement, a minimum of 2 times a day, you're dehydrated, you're not getting enough micronutrients and macronutrients like protein for your muscle, for you to be able to move your body, and magnesium and such, then the body needs that to function. So it's really important to figure out, what does that look like for you? If that's your goal, like losing weight, less bloating, that sort of thing, you cannot out exercise a bad diet. But what you can do is burn off your metabolism and ruin it if you're eating less and exercising more, right? So we've got to change that mentality. Some people are still stuck to that mentality. Most people don't eat enough. Most people don't eat enough. The three patients I saw today, not eating enough protein, not eating enough protein at all. And they know it. They feel it. They get off their game over the holidays. So that's what we spoke about the last couple days. Today, I'm going to talk all about stress, nervous system regulation, and sleep. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Many of you don't realize, like, when you're foggy brained or you can't focus and you can't concentrate, if we rule out nutrition and now we've got our nutrition in check, that sleep deprivation can impact your cognitive performance. I will tell you that sleep is one of the number one causes of cognitive decline and the inability to focus daily. It can lead to feeling alerted. It can eliminate fatigue, meaning if you're sleeping well, it can eliminate your fatigue. It can replenish your body naturally. And so when you're able to rest, what I say, like your weary soul, you can rejuvenate your body. You can rejuvenate your engine to go, and your health will flourish when you get ample amount of sleep. So as individuals, we can function optimally with different amounts of sleep. But the bottom line is you truly need rest so that you can detox your brain, which we didn't know, maybe, I don't know, time flies, 3, 5 years ago. We didn't really understand that that's what happened with the brain until research came out. And I truly don't believe we still to this day really understand how about the nervous system and about the brain is what I want to say, and the importance of relaxation. We're trying to study it, but it's really hard from a research standpoint for us to really get exact numbers. So, um, what I want to say is that if you're not sleeping, you're truly not healing. And it's going to affect so many ways, and so many different symptoms can come up from a lack of sleep. But before I truly get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the nervous system and stress, because that goes hand in hand with sleep as well as cortisol. So, and it just throws off the whole system. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain it without doing a massive deep dive into hormones. But so if we can't relax our nervous system, we have our sympathetic system and we have our parasympathetic system. Our sympathetic is our yin, our calm, our peace, our flow, our ease, lower energy, resting, sleeping, right? And you can hear how my voice slowed down. That's really parasympathetic. And sympathetic is that go, 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 that do, that drive, 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 that push, 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 that win, win, win. I'm going to get it. I'm going to stay up all night. I'm going to figure it out. Like, oh my gosh, this person is stressing me out. I don't know why it's stressing me out. It's causing so many problems and I just can't stop and I just can't sleep. Like, can you hear the difference? Like, I do that on purpose so that you can kind of get an idea. Para is kind of around, it's peaceful, it's quiet. When we are in that sympathetic state, truly that state was made to allow us to run away from like a saber-toothed tiger, right? And so all of our blood flow goes right. You can't see my lower hand, but it's on my lower belly. Like all of the blood flow takes care of our organs. So, man, I can run. I'm not going to get hit by a car. That dog isn't going to bite me. That saber-toothed tiger isn't going to eat me. Like that's truly what the sympathetic system was about. And it's also like, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I need to get out of here. I'm not safe. So our brain fires that off. So many patients, like I worked with a trauma patient today, many patients in trauma or abuse have that sympathetic system. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. And so they're in that cortisol response and they just don't even realize it because it was their sense of protection. So these individuals, not only am I working with herbs and supplements with them, I'm also working with them on their mindset to change that sympathetic system, to constantly tell your body, I'm loved, I am safe. I all of that trauma happened, but like a lot of that happens up until age 7, or even in this particular patient's case, abuse of a prior partner that's been years but still hasn't been released, right? So why am I saying all that? When you're in the sympathetic state and that go, 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 that push, 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 and you don't ever come down into the parasympathetic and you run on cortisol, right? So you have like two little hats on the top of your kidneys that are called adrenals. And the adrenals in the center of the adrenal glands, without getting into detail, I was going to go to detail, releases cortisol, right? When you release cortisol, that's when your body thinks it's stressed. And it's there to save you, to protect you. But yet, all of us, I can speak as Americans and probably going into many other countries now, are living on this. When we're living on this, we're living not in ever a relaxed state. Especially all of us as females that are on here, we're meant to receive, meant to be in that relaxed state. We are meant to be giving, but we can't give too much, because if we give too much, we're parched, right? So that cortisol is released from the little adrenal glands on top of the kidneys, and then all the blood flow goes to the body. Everything stops, like circulation in a sense, not literally, I'm being extreme here. And now it's taking care of your system, and you can go and do what you need to do as far as being safe. So how else does that happen? That happens around nutrition. Okay. Huh? You're saying, how is that? Well, if you don't eat a balanced enough meal and you're eating too much sugar and starches, and your blood sugar's on that roller coaster ride, like we talked about yesterday, right? Cortisol comes in and is going to save the day, because maybe glucagon, which is your other hormone from your pancreas, can't bring your blood sugar up. Or maybe there's not enough insulin for your blood sugar to come down, because now you stepped into insulin resistance or diabetes. I don't know. I'm just using an example. And so cortisol's like, I got you, no problem. I'm here to save the day. So it comes in, and because your blood sugar has to be balanced. What happens at night? You go and you're like, how is this tied to sleep? It is. Here with me here. Now it's time for you to go to bed. You haven't eaten a balanced meal throughout the day. You haven't eaten enough. You go to sleep. Well, your blood sugar could drop. Ding, 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 ding. Cortisol, wake up. You're an alert. This is an alert situation. I can't sleep. And then you wake up. But many of you don't look at the fact that imbalanced nutrition can also be related to insomnia. The other connection with cortisol and insomnia is a typical average cortisol curve. It's not that it's high, but it starts at a higher level in the morning, and then it starts to drop off around 2 to 3 p.m., maybe 4 p.m. We have a little bit of a mountain drop to get us through the afternoon. That's usually when many patients, I can see there's an adrenal and sugar issue, because many patients around 3 to 4 p.m., they want to take a nap, they want to go to sleep, they want to rest. But truly, you should, burst a little bit of cortisol to get you through the day. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, my fingers are dropping, 7, 8 starts to drop off, whatever around your bedtime is, maybe 9 p.m. I don't know. Melatonin kicks in as the next hormone. And melatonin releases out of the pituitary. And it's another hormone that says, okay, calm, peace. I get to sleep throughout the night. We're balanced on our melatonin. That's a balanced body. But what often happens is if your cortisol is off, it's this up and down curve. It can spike in the middle of the night, it can drop off. You could wake up in the morning and be burning cortisol and whatnot. And so you're down here in the morning. You're not up here like you should be. You're down here. So now we're re-looking at your cortisol curve. But not only am I supporting it with herbs and things, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in your mind. What sort of stress are you in? If you're like, I'm not stressed, I don't know what's happening, then I'm going to take you back to kind of childhood probably to figure it out. But usually alone, those mechanisms, I can figure it out, right? And then the gut as well. That's why I said cortisol is like a big sort of scenario. If you're under stress and you're eating food under stress, you rest and digest in the parasympathetic state. So I always say to patients, if you've got a lot going on and you're super busy, you don't really ever hear me say this, but skip a meal. Because you're not, the truth is you're really probably not going to digest it anyway. It's going to take twice as long. Why? Because of what we talked about. If you're in that stress state, that go, 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 that push, 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 that drive, 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 how can you be in that rest and digest state? Another thing that you could think of is like, I have so many patients ask me this question. Why, Dr. Donahue, on the weekends after I eat and I'm just hanging out with the kids or my husband or their dogs or bunnies, whatever is your love, like whatever you do on weekends, and you're relaxed and you eat a meal and soon after that you have a stool. It's because you rest, you're peaceful, you're getting into that state. Instead of, oh my gosh, I need to do breakfast. I need to take the kids. I need to do this. And I have this to-do list and I got to finish this and I got to go here and I'm just going to eat. And then I got to get a car and then I got to go. You're not in that rest or digest state, people. You're in a push state. So I'm not asking you to not be busy. I'm busy, but it's doing it in incremental ways where you're doing it and you're having that boundary. I can give you 20 minutes. That's what I can give you right now. That's what I got. I can give you 15 minutes. I can give you an hour, you know? And you have all heard me say that first thing in the morning for 3 hours is mine. It's mine. I will not see patients until 9 or 9:30. I get up at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, work out at 5:30. 5:30 to 6:30. So from 4 to 5, it's my time to do my prayer, to do my meditation, to be blessed, gratitude, whatever that looks like for me, to read 20 pages of a book, then I'm off to work out, then I'm home, then I walk my dog, I eat breakfast, and then at 8 o'clock, I'm ready to go to work, 8:30. But you can't take that away from me anymore. But let me tell you, when I was in my 20s, I'm going to conquer the world and do it all. I didn't know this. That doesn't mean that's how you have to do it. But when you set yourself up to balance your nervous system regulation, then you're setting yourself up for peace and rest. The other thing that you want to think about, and now I'm going to go into sleep and the symptoms of insomnia, and I'm going to go clear over there. But if you are not taking time to regulate your nervous system and you're in that anxious state, I mean, do I have anybody on here with anxiety? I have no judgment, but if I do, like, drop it in the chat or just put me. Um, there's been a lot of anxiety in this world lately, right? It's not slowing down, but we can't take care of what they're doing. We can only take care of what we're doing. Yeah. Thank you for being honest. And so figuring out where that is for you is so important because that can throw us off as well. And then we can't go to shut eye, or we're in kind of that anxious state. I want to do everything right. I'll use the word perfect. I'm not saying that's anybody here, but if it is, like, have everything lined up, but it's figuring out how to dance in your own body. Becoming, I know I keep saying this, but I just love it. Like becoming your own doctor. What is going on in your body? What is happening? Right? So when we get into that space of like really connecting to ourselves, then we become aware of the changes that we need to make. Because the bottom line is sleep is so important so that we can rejuvenate our body and our mind. That's the time when we really allow the nervous system to relax. And yes, it's just as important as to how deep REM sleep that you get into as well. It's not just sleep, it's really good sound sleep and then deep REM sleep. Deep REM sleep is how you think of it. So if we don't get enough sleep, then this affects us in so many ways. And our body's going to start to give us symptoms. So I just want to go through a list of what I'm familiar with that disrupts our sleep. And insomnia can be caused by a number of circumstances. The number one circumstance could be emotional or sort of grief-based or situational and or environmental. Like I kind of like put that all together, or maybe I should leave grief separately. But some of the other circumstances that I've seen is patients on prescription drugs, and when we're able to get them off prescription drugs, they sleep. Not all of them, there's a time and a place. I'm not here to treat or diagnose, so please be conscientious in what I'm saying here. So don't go get off your medications. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some medications that do cause insomnia. Maybe it's physical pain, right? Like my poor mom, 91 years old, is waiting for hip surgery and her hip is waking her up at night. And she does all natural. And finally, a month ago, we had to talk her into doing Tylenol and Aleve, and it's the best thing that ever happened to her. I said, Mom, there's a time and a place for medication. This is not going to hurt your liver or brain right now. So I'm a true proponent of that. If you have pain, what is the pain? What is waking you up? I'm not talking emotional pain, we're talking physical pain here. Then the other one I think of is what we just talked about, the overabundance of stress, that push, that drive, that cortisol shuffle where it's not balanced. And then when we talked about the cortisol sort of curve, that's what we call our circadian rhythm of our body. So if our circadian rhythm becomes imbalanced, it could be jet lag or it could be night shift work. I'm working with a patient who works nights as a nurse, and boy, is it hard. She does 3 12s in a row, and she is a zombie for 2 days after that. We realize it's short term to get her through what she's doing, but man, it's hard on the body. Night shift work is another thing. People think, they have to do it because then they're home with their children or help supporting at home or whatever, or maybe they get paid more, whatever that looks like. But that's really hard on the body as well, the night shift work. Why? Because it throws off what we just talked about, the circadian rhythm of the body, which is so important. Depression is another one that can cause insomnia. And then some of the psychiatric affective disorders. Then some of the stimulants that I'm aware of, and I'm sure again there's more. This is just what is coming up for me as I'm speaking to you, is some of the stimulants that we know that interfere with sleep. Or if your thyroid medication is too high, you could go into high thyroid. And so thyroid medications can stop you, inhibit you from sleeping. I have also seen, believe it or not, hypertensive, which are high blood pressure medications, beta blockers. I've seen patients not sleep well with beta blockers and or metoprolol, which helps with atrial fibrillation in the heart, where the heart races. I've seen some patients not do well with metoprolol. Birth control pills, that's a whole nother hormone story that I don't want to get into, but I do know patients that once they came off their birth control pill and they learned a different method when they were still sexually active to not get pregnant, they slept so much better because their estrogen, their progesterone, their testosterone, all of that can just work so much better together. Um, Believe it or not, marijuana, I know patients that take marijuana because they feel like they sleep better with it, but I have seen adverse reactions with that. They think it's more, nervous system relaxant and whatnot, but I have seen it as a stimulant for patients where once they come off of it, because they came to me now and they're still not sleeping, and there was a time when it worked and it's not working now. So that's hitting the cannabinoid receptors. Um, Another one that I think about is alcohol. People think they sleep better with alcohol, and you truly don't. They think that and it's partial sugar. I don't get me started on alcohol. I have no judgment, but it's gasoline, it's acetaldehyde. Like, why do we think it's okay to drink? And then we use it for every party, every celebration. But we really need to start thinking about these things, especially if you want to get better. Um, it just, I had an awareness about it about 15 years ago, and I was just like, one day I just had an aha moment around it. And I thought, why are we dumping like gasoline in our body, right? It just didn't make sense. Um, and then too much sugars, like we talked about, those could be stimulants. If you're not eating balanced protein, really good healthy fats to keep your body balanced, then that can throw off and cause insomnia. Um, Caffeinated teas or coffees, some people aren't affected by it. Like, I could drink green tea and go right to sleep. I could probably drink coffee and go to sleep. But I know I'm probably not sleeping as soundly. I should try that sometime on a weekend and track it for the heck of it to see. I think I sleep okay. But there are some patients, especially cancer patients, if I have them drinking really good organic green tea, anti-cancer, anti-tumor, sometimes it's too stimulating for them. So I'll do the white green tea so it's not as stimulating. So I think of those. And then the other caffeine piece where I know many people are addicted to, and some of you on here struggle with it, is chocolate. So be conscientious how close you eat chocolate before you go to bed, because that does have caffeine in it. It makes me think I want to like go get some raw cacao and make some hot chocolate. It's so cold here. How is everybody doing? Are we getting this? I'm trying to go as slow as I can, but like sleep is so massive, and I just really want to kind of get you to start to think about, what does sleep look like? Am I sleeping soundly? Okay, great. So good feedback. So I'm not losing people in the game here. So one of the questions that I want you to ask yourself, and I do this deeper dive in when we do become your own doctor, but I just kind of want to give you an overview. Think to yourself, do I have difficulty falling asleep? Do I stay asleep throughout the night? Do I frequently awake throughout the night? Or do you sleep through the night and then you don't wake and rested? That last question that I ask patients is usually the most important. They think they sleep throughout the night, but they're not waking rested. So that is super key to think about. Chronic sleep deprivation in our world is becoming more common because of what we talked about earlier with the increase of demands on the body and the nervous system. We're just constantly on the go. So if you have a healthy individual, hear this, if you have a healthy individual with just 1 week of sleep debt, insulin sensitivity will decrease, thyroid rhythms will become imbalanced, and there's going to be a surge in nighttime cortisol. That is only not sleeping well for a week. So that's how important sleep is. it can really throw your rhythm of your body off. And I looked up today just to make sure it was about the same number. 30% of our population is suffering from insomnia at any given time. And we know by research, no, not by research, sorry. We know by numbers of prescriptions being prescribed that 5 to 6 million people have some sort of sedative hypnotic that they've been given for sleep. But 50% of those are often related to psychological sleep factors. So, and sleep apnea has been big in our world over the last, let's see, I don't know, time flies, right? I would say maybe over the last 15 years, you see and you hear more people having sleep apnea. And it's really become chronic. But if we could work on all the pieces that we talked about over here, that's going to allow for the body to rest and not have to wear sleep apnea apparatuses, machines. So, I really want to talk about what lack of sleep or insomnia does. It really is a disruption of that REM sleep cycle that I was talking about. So each of our sleep cycles is anywhere between 90 to 120 minutes for most individuals. We've got two distinct forms of sleep. We have the deep REM and the non-REM. And you can really look at these, and they're based on EEG recordings and your eye movements. So deep REM sleep is where the eyes move rapidly and the person is dreaming and in a deep, deep sleep. And then when we go to the non-REM sleep, it really has 4 stages. And that's based on how easy is it for you to be aroused and what is your EEG activity. These are the numbers that I'm using that we look at when we send somebody off for a sleep study. So as your sleep advances through the night, your sleep should deepen. Then your brain gets in a lower brainwave activity, and then you get into that deep REM sleep. Excuse me. So the longer you're asleep, that increases your REM cycles. And many of us as adults, because we don't have any younger children on here, you have typically 5 sleep cycles nightly. So I look at sleep as a barometer. So when someone is consistently struggling to sleep, it's a sign that your body is not in balance. It's not in homeostasis. And so doing a thorough evaluation to figure out where you're off, everything that we talked about from blood sugar dysregulation to nutrient deficiencies to stress to lifestyle or physiological imbalances, you just want to rule out and make sure like that lack of insomnia isn't causing a more serious condition. And that's really truly where my work comes in to figure out what is actually happening. So, I know that your life would be more enjoyable if you weren't struggling to fall asleep at night. You'd have better focus, you've had better concentration, you would actually dream. So it's really, sleep is so important to actually get on track. Um, so really I would say start to track your sleep and start to look at like maybe what you ate, what you thought about. Like we talk about not using devices before you go to bed. We talk about like I go into this deep into become your own doctor, like really like how to set yourself up, especially set your bedroom up, and don't have hard conversations before you go to sleep. Really try to stay away from your phone. I would say some people say 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. You got to figure out, again, it's about what works for you. And you want to create these patterns and a schedule that help you get into a less stressed state, and you can spend more time doing other things that help you promote your relaxation in your mind and your body so you're not so stressed out. So it's not your fault that you can't sleep, but we've got to figure out where that pattern is happening so that when you lay down to sleep, you can have a really good night's sleep. So that's really the work that we talk about um, in the sleep world. And just know with love, if you're not sleeping, it's really hard for you to heal. It's just everything, the whole rhythm of the body really gets thrown off. Um, so really creating sleep rituals for yourself, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, being aware of the food sources that you're eating before you go to bed or even throughout the day. Like if you are not eating balanced throughout the day, you can throw that off. Be aware of your stress. Like really be connected of what's happening in the body. I think that's like that's really, is anything coming up? Is that clear for, is anything coming up for you guys around the sleep piece? Do we just have one person that's having a hard time sleeping on here? Is it just right now? Oh, two. Okay. Anne, are you having a hard time sleeping? We lost Shannon. Okay. All of you. 100%.
I often
Yeah, so
don't, but I did last night. So periodic.
oh, yours is periodic. Okay, okay, awesome.
And
Not awesome, but at least it's periodic.
I put in two questions. Are there sleep monitors you like? And what do you think about melatonin?
Yeah, so good question. So there are all sorts of different sleep monitors out there. They do come with a risk of having radiation on your body, so I do think about that as well. However, I do think sometimes information is powerful for us. So the Aura Ring, I think it's Oura, the Aura Ring, people really love, and it's just a ring and it's super easy. Um, if that's kind of what you're tracking and a little bit of metabolism and things like that. The other sleep, there are sleep apps on the phone. I know my patients have, but I'm sorry, I don't know the names of them because they go and find them themselves and then they start tracking it. Um, but another apparatus that I like is the Whoop strap, WHOOP, which is a strap that you wear that gives you a lot more in depth um, of like calories and steps and sleep and stress zones that you're in and out of. It gives you heart rate variability. So it's more of a health app rather than more just focused on sleep. And I think Aura has been really growing itself. Um, Heart rate variability. Oh goodness, let me figure out the name of that. I think it's called has really been coming into play. In fact, I'm thinking about getting a system at the clinic to really look at heart rate variability. And you'll say to me, well, Dr. Donahue, what is that? It's actually it is actually how we're looking at your nervous system and how your nervous system does when you're laying down, then when you stand up, when you do a valsava, which means like holding everything in, like tight together, and then breathing and meditation. And so it's looking at the nervous system. So the app, I'll put this in the I will put this in the chat. It's called the Well Tori app. And a lot of naturopaths have started to use it now. And there is a way for you to actually take your phone, I think, and actually hold like on the back of your phone when you feel stressed and you actually hold it and it will tell you what your heart rate variability is. Why is that important? Because you want to make sure you have good heart rate variability, that your nervous system isn't off. Um, so like if somebody's like athletic, they're probably going to have more in the 80s to 100s. And if somebody's a little bit less athletic, they may have more into the 40s and 30s, but it's actually the variability that can actually look at health as well. So the Well Tori app can do that if you're trying to assess your nervous system. And so I believe I'm going to dig deeper into it, but I believe when you're stressed, you can test it and see what your heart rate variability is. And then when you're more of a relaxed state, test it again and it can kind of show you. Whereas the Whoop strap automatically does that if you leave it on. There's theory that it might not be as accurate, but if it reads your body, then it reads who you are as an individual. So yeah, I think that did that answer all your questions, Meredith?
I asked about what you think about melatonin.
Oh, melatonin. Sorry. I knew there was one other one. I'm like went off on that. So melatonin, I'm okay with. I don't suggest that people use it long term because it is a hormone. So like I use it when I travel. So I'll like for example, you just went to Hawaii, right? And you're East Coast time. So I would have taken it an hour after I got on the plane. And then I would have taken it when I landed. And then I would take it every night an hour before bed for the next 2 or 3 nights until I was sleeping soundly. So I use it for jet lag and time zones. Um, Melatonin is not my first go-to app right off the bat because no, sorry. Melatonin is not my first supplement for sleep right off the bat. I would use herbs, non-melatonin formed herbs like valerian, passiflora, GABA, L-theanine and GABA are if somebody's anxious. So I kind of like what I do is I match the herb to the patient. Valerian is probably our strongest, it is our strongest, what we call nervine, and that's a nervous system relaxant. Some patients can't take it because they get really deep dreaming with it, and some patients get nightmares with it. But then the lighter ones are like chamomile, melissa, um, there's so many different herbs. So I match them to the patient, but skull cap is another one. I have a tendency to use skull cap a little bit more with men. Um, let's see, Passiflora. Yeah, so those are mainly my go-tos. And then if somebody's still not sleeping, then I would start to lean in on melatonin.
And how much would you take?
I would start at 3 milligrams, a very low dose, very low dose. Most patients do fine with that. So Anne dropped off. We might as well